Hi and welcome to Auction Market Theory 103, Trading Breakouts. So we talked about how to behave in a ranging type of situation. But let's also identify what happens when we break out of certain volume areas. So we might be in an uptrend already, and we might want to join the trend instead of opting for a ping-pong reversal. So we want to take a look at what happens here, for example. We want to take a look at what happens during the test with order flow. And framing our entry for a breakout in a directional session, while at the same time seeing what happens during the breakout through order flow and see if there's a high chance, a high likelihood of a follow through in price. So what we would like to see in a situation like this is high volume, high delta, and not something that simply dries up. Something that continues to have a high volume. And if and when there is an attempt for sellers to drop back inside of a comfortable area, we want to see a dry up in sell volume and buyers taking the upper hand on the test as well. Then we know it's a valid breakout. And we can take the same example we've had here. We have a situation where price tried to auction higher but couldn't. So we finally have a break below with a lot of candles closing below. And what can we see if we look at order flow? Can we see during the breakout an increase in volume that does not stop? Well, this is the candle that broke out. Let's look at volume. Oh, look at that. Increasingly high, and then increasingly high again. Well, how about on the buy side? Is there increasing volume? Not so much. Oh, that's a very interesting thing. That's exactly the polar opposite of what happened here, where we had at the breakout buy volume drying up, and then when we dropped back inside, then volume rising up again. This is exactly the opposite. And it's data. It's undisputable proof. It's data based on money. Well, this candle is not just a fat ass candle, but a lot of imbalances. Okay. Interesting. Sellers being absorbed slightly at the bottom, but then poked through. Okay, we have all the confirmations that this is a qualified breakout. Again, little fair valuation, again, fair valuation, and then auctioning lower and lower. Also, the small time fractal volume profiles tells us that value is going lower. Then we have a retracement. We have an auction higher. Okay, well, our bias is sell, right? It's pretty clear. This is the area we've been following through the whole time. Well, what happens here? What happens to all of these aggressive buyers? Oh, would you look at that? Absorbed. 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 They try to push up, but they can't. And if they try harder, look at this imbalances on the top. Aggressive sellers take the upper hand again. And boom. Sellers take the upper hand. And what happens during the breakout? Volume increases again. One more test, and we melt for the entire session. Okay, there's probably a bug in the data feed. all of that session with a qualified breakout where the money was telling us, not just a candle. Just looking at this, you're blind. You're just blind to what the market is actually able to tell you. And that's a breakout that we can trade very successfully. Either directly on the test, because we saw the volume here, we saw the volume going up, we saw the aggressions and buyers trying to absorb but failing, so we know who's in control in the auction. There's a lot of money in control of the auction, and it's going down. So whenever there's a pullback, that's an opportunity. So you either place yourself in the imbalance itself, which is a really good trick. So you basically look at the candle, take the cluster of imbalances, and that's your sell entry zone with a stop above the candle. Or if you want to be more conservative, you wait for a second confirmation, because you might be scared of this candle. You might say, hey, there's a lot of aggressive here. Let me see first. Well, totally fine. So you wait for a phase of absorption, sellers taking the upper hand again, buyers trying to stop them, failing. Okay, now it's the time. Stop above here. Let's fucking roll. And that's how you manage a breakout.